A new mixed reality trailer debuted recently for the Twilight Zone VR at the Upload VR showcase, giving the best look yet at the game. As previously reported, the Twilight Zone VR will launch with 3 different tales or episodes, each essentially a mini story that spans different genres and are handled by different writers, much like the serialized TV show. In this latest mixed reality trailer, we get a proper look at each of the 3 launch episodes. There's one set in a suburban house, then revealed to be actually floating in some kind of digital cyber city criminal space. The second looks like it's in a post-apocalyptic wasteland with some horrifying creatures, while the third looks like it could be in an office or some other kind of building. While we're expecting puzzles and some mind-bending visuals, it also looks like you'll be using a pistol in some or all of the episodes to fend off supernatural or otherwise creatures as well. We currently only know about the 3 episodes set to debut at launch, but the format would definitely lend itself perfectly to additional updates or DLC episodes down the line. We can keep our fingers crossed at least. The Twilight Zone VR is set to launch on July 14th for the Quest 2, with a PSVR version set to arrive at a later date. We're hoping for a PC VR and PSVR 2 release as well, but no word on that just yet. Oh boy, this one's a mouthful. Spear UAV has recently released its Ninox 103 UW sub-to-air encapsulated autonomous quadricopter. Whew. Which it claims is the first loitering drone that can be launched from a submarine or other submerged platforms for immediate beyond line of sight situational awareness. With their ability to submerge, submarines have a major strategic and tactical advantage. However, since their inception, they've also suffered from not being able to see what's going on above the waves beyond the horizon of a periscope. For that reason, over a century, submariners have experimented with a number of ways to extend their view. With varying degrees of success, of course. Kites, gyrocopters, even airplanes have been launched from submarines, but all of these had the drawback of the boat needing to surface for them to be deployed. Now, in recent years, navies have looked to drones that can be launched underwater to act as a reconnaissance platform. However, these have tended to be fixed-wing aircraft, while the Ninox 103 is based on a quadricopter design that allows it to loiter in place by hovering. According to Spear UAV, the Ninox 103 is stored in a capsule that can be deployed from a submarine. This capsule then floats to the surface and can remain dormant for up to 24 hours before the ruggedized, maritime-hardened drone launches into the air. Once airborne, the Ninox 103 has a range of 6 miles and an endurance of 45 minutes, with a payload of 2.2 pounds. The first technological deployment of its kind in the world, the Ninox 103 sub-to-air has been developed in response to the needs of Spear's customers worldwide for a drone capable of underwater launches. The system has been successfully tested, and Spear is collaborating with a number of defense companies as it continues to work on new developments. If you want to get your hands on something like this, well, that's just out of the question. But you can bet that the military will be using something like this before too long. This is pretty amazing. Normally, I get a story here or there about a new air taxi in development or a new concept of some flying car, but never in the, 21 years that I have been doing this type of program have I had 3 stories all at once, all about successful flights of new flying vehicles. I'm going to start with Volocopter's Volo Connect. It may be the real deal, as it has now flown for the very first time in Germany. The few details on the uncrewed test flight that we have include a few basic maneuvers lasting about 2 minutes and 14 seconds and utilizing a prototype with all the planned aerodynamic and performance features of the future commercial product, they are quoted to say. Apparently, other short flights have taken place since then. As part of an initial phase of testing, that phase will be devoted to assessing the aircraft's low and high-speed performance, its ability to transition between vertical and horizontal flight, and its ability to compensate for engine failure while in flight. Already, the eVTOL has successfully reached a top forward speed of 40 miles per hour and a sideways speed of 28 miles per hour. It should also be noted that Volocopter's shorter haul VoloCity eVTOL, formerly known as the 2X, has already made several crewed public flights as well. Moving on, we have the Shanghai-based eVTOL company Autoflight, and they've been plowing through flight tests of late as it continues to develop its Prosperity I eVTOL air taxi. The company has now released a largely uncut 8-minute video showing an entire test flight with sound. We saw transition test video from Autoflight back in February, but this new video is pretty remarkable in that it has no music or sound other than that captured on the aircraft itself. And it purports to show an entire test flight start to finish, including takeoff hover, a transition to forward flight, winged cruise with no vertical lift props spinning, some plane line banking, ground speeds of over 110 miles per hour, then a gradual transition back onto the vertical lift props, and a landing. It's an incredible video, and here is just a snippet of what the thing actually sounds like. It's interesting to note that the Prosperity proof of concept rises straight up vertically rather than gaining any forward speed as it rises. For safety's sake, it's best to get transitioning eVTOLs onto the wing as quickly as possible. Also, the transition back to vertical lift mode looked a little on the bumpy side. For whatever reason, it looks like it'll be fairly clear from the passenger seats when you're switching flight modes, however. And if this thing actually works how they say it's going to, giving you cruising speeds of 124 miles per hour, well, it's going to be an incredible vehicle. Autoflight expects to put it in service by 2026, aiming to certify it both with local Chinese authorities and Europe's EASA. And moving on to our third and final eVTOL startup, this one is another Chinese manufacturer. It's called Pan2 Aviation, and they've revealed the Pantala Concept H. It's a sleek, ducted fan flying taxi concept that draws comparisons with Lilium. There was some suspicions about the prototype that they released recently, but all of that has now been laid to rest by revealing a video of the T1, the subscaled technology demonstrator of the Pantala Concept H. The T1 is a half-scale demonstrator of the Concept H, which Pan2 Aviation announced last year would fly at speeds of over 186 miles per hour and have a range of 155 miles. The full-scale all-electric aircraft will use lithium-ion batteries and features 22 large diameter electric ducted fans rather than open rotors, the company said at the time. For T1, the main goal is to verify the feasibility of the tandem layout and the ducted fan propulsion. Over the course of last year, Pan2 Aviation said it has conducted tethered flights as well as tests related to production and assembly. It has also run simulations and used digital model-based engineering to develop several versions of its scaled model before reaching the design that it's showing off in the video. eVTOL flying taxis could revolutionize public transportation with greatly reduced travel times in urban spaces and, of course, between cities as well. Both Lilium and Volocopter claim that they will start their flying taxi service around 2024. Other players like Pantu Aviation might have a little catching up to do, but with the flying taxi market expected to reach a value of $6.6 billion by 2030, there will be plenty of space for competition.